You're in the tavern. The boss is giving you your quest, telling you all the information, and then you notice this really interesting pattern up at the top of the stairs. It reminds you of that time you were fighting that wizard who really was a jerk, and then they were, doing that thing, and man, you owe Sally 15 gold. You got to go do that. And your brain is everywhere, and you're not focusing on what's going on. Hi there, I'm Dr. Megan Connell, and this is Psychology at the Table. And in this episode, we're going to be joined by Dr. Ryan Kelly.
Hi.
As we talk about ADHD.
Indeed!
Yes.
You see me?
I see you.
What am I saying to you?
That you're focused.
So focused.
So focused. You are here.
What are we doing? ADHD.
ADHD. And I need to share a story with everybody about Dr. Ryan. And he gave me permission to share this, which was when I was first talking to him about doing this episode, we were in a meeting room, and he was walking around the meeting room and telling me something. He went off on a tangent, and then he was standing on top of an ottoman and looked at me and said, "What were we talking about?" And I had to say, ADHD. True. So, right. Tell me a little bit about what is ADHD, like in layman's terms.
So the way we typically think about it is struggling to regulate. Largely regulate our attention and our energy. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the quick run and dirty.
The quick run. And now if we're looking more at like an academic term of what it is.
Okay. Yeah, so we basically have 3 different diagnoses. We used to think ADD, which was struggling to shift and maintain attention, regulate attention, and ADHD, which might include attention, but was also struggling to shift and maintain energy, right? Now, we switch it up because that's what we like to do. We like to keep everyone on their toes.
Yes.
We have ADHD predominantly inattentive type, where it's just inattention, and that's like old ADD. We have predominantly hyperactive type, ADHD-H, which is, some people honestly pretty good with attention, but energy is hard to regulate. And then we have ADHD combined presentation, and that's we struggle with both regulating energy and attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how common and how prevalent is ADHD?
It's a little hard to know truly because there's a lot of things that will get misdiagnosed as ADHD, but you can go ahead and say around 5 to 10% pretty consistently. Okay. But some have been pretty high.
Yeah. And now, when you have a friend who's struggling with ADHD or has this as part of their life, what are some of the characteristics you might observe in them?
So everybody's different, but some common ones you'll see, they tend to be a little disorganized, struggle with planning, time management. They might be flaky, right? Because they're like, oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Right? Usually high energy, very enthusiastic, very creative, tend to be extroverted. They're the ones where like, when you're in the mood for someone to mess around with, oh, they're the best. Yeah. Super high energy, really creative. Oh man, like enthusiastic. At the same time, they could be a little loud. Sometimes enthusiasm gets a little carried away, and and they might not be super thoughtful sometimes, where they're just not really thinking about what they're saying or doing. Again, the way I imagine it's sort of like a secretary in your brain that's supposed to be with you everywhere and following you around. Here's your plan. Here's your organization. You took a phone call, and trying to allow the CEO to have her be able to use her innovation and creativity. And that secretary's gone, so the phone's ringing off the hook, and nothing's getting written in an agenda, and it's like, where am I supposed to be to use my awesomeness? And it's like a little tougher.
A little tougher.
Yeah.
Also, so what are some of the benefits of having a player with ADHD at your table?
Oh my gosh. So we consistently see that on standardized scales of like creativity, they score higher. They have different responses, think outside the box. It really does come with these amazing strengths. Again, it's not the inability to pay attention. It's the difficulty shifting and maintaining. So if they're interested in something, much like an Aspie, like they'll hyper-focus to the point they had to be like, Megan. And it's like, huh? What? Like they didn't even know, like, oh, I didn't even register any stimulus aside from my Lego or whatever it is, right? And so using the creativity, letting them roll with the role playing a little bit, getting the energy level up for people, enthusiasm for the game is great. Yeah.
And what might be some challenges you'd have with a player with ADHD at the table?
Well, again, the easiest way to think of it is struggling with regulating. So attention, you might be trying as a DM to stay on track and to push something forward, and they might be goofing off because they were having a lot of fun with a previous interaction or just not even paying attention. As well, because they tend to be restless. So hyperactive doesn't mean they're bouncing off the walls everywhere necessarily, but it's like, get restless easy, don't like sitting still. So they might be playing with stuff, building up the dice, rolling the dice and making noise as you're trying to DM. Can be kind of distracting. They might want to try to stand up or take more bathroom breaks. or they might come off as a little domineering and wanting the spotlight. Not necessarily because they're narcissistic or they like don't think other people should have it. They just want to talk. Like they just, oh, I got this energy, I just want to talk. And sometimes the assumption made by other people are like, I don't like them because they're hogging the conversation
or whatever.
Right.
What are some good techniques for dungeon masters to kind of help their players kind of manage those behaviors and to minimize the challenges and maximize the benefits?
Yeah. So it's, I mean, it's kind of a parenting or teaching trope, but being warm but firm, I mean, is a real thing. So they might need more redirection. Just kind of making sure they're on ball, but also really be kind to them and be understanding when you can tell they really are trying, but again, they just got carried away with this thing that is otherwise great.
Yeah.
Keep in mind throughout the day, they're having to be quiet and sit still and pay attention and be thoughtful and make good decisions that, and this is their time where they're going to want to really come out and just feel comfortable being themselves. Right?
So probably expect a player who does more impulsive things in character.
Yeah.
Like,
you
show the shiny gem and they're like, oh, I'm pushing the button.
I'm pushing the button. I want to hit him with a sword. Like, maybe give him like second chances. Do you really want to hit him with a sword?
Yeah.
We call it pathways. It's sort of like, if they make a decision that you're just like, I don't think they actually would want to make that call. Maybe give them a chance to be like, so just keep in mind, like, and age matters here. You don't want to patronize them. But just to keep in mind, if you do that, like, can't do this. Oh, yeah. Okay, no, I don't want to do that. Sorry. You're like, cool.
So a little bit more of scripting and not scripting, but discussing of the consequences and helping them kind of think things through a little bit.
It might be needed. And again, not everyone's that way. I'd be. I mean, you've seen me.
Yes.
So, but just, kind of seeing what their needs are. And then, like anything you've talked about here, having a open chat with them as a DM privately of like, I think these things are great. Maybe you've made some observations. I don't want you to worry about being loud. Occasionally I might do this. Give you a little like thing of, hey, like bring it down, but be you. And then if these pop up, just come to me. We'll figure it out. We're so excited to have you a part of this guild.
That's awesome.
Team. Yeah.
For fidgets and like keeping hands busy.
Yeah.
Dice towers and just randomly rolling dice is distracting and annoying. For the other players and for the dungeon master too. So like, what would be some kind of quiet alternatives that you might suggest to dungeon masters?
So my role as a DM for anybody, but especially for Aspie and ADHD, no phones. So nothing with a screen. And as far as fidget stuff, there are some that kind of work for some people, but they're distracting. Fidget cubes, fidget spinners, dice, dice tower, things that make noise. There are literally dozens of fidget stuff. Ranging between variety of squeeze stuff to a marble and a Chinese finger trap. And what I tell people is find the one that works for you. Go to like a zany brainy store or someplace that has a lot of these like occupational therapy tools. Play with them. Figure out which one you feel kind of makes you feel less restless, focuses your thoughts, and get that one. Again, I use a what were we talking about? What were we just talking about?
You're talking about the fidgets.
Fidget devices. So I use, oh my God, not Jigglypuff, Kirby. Thank you very much. I use a Kirby, and it's really a cool texture. Like, so it's not too soft, it's not too hard, it's beautiful. Molds, I can play with it, feel, and it's also, I love Kirby, so it makes me happy. So just, like, tell them to go to these stores and find one that works for them.
Yeah. Or, like, maybe even go yourself and, like, I think it'd be cool to go to these stores, find ones that are quiet, and then just have them at the table, too.
Oh, that's really smart. If you're willing to go out of your way to do that and have like 6 different ones, be great. And whether,
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Any other tips, tricks, or techniques you could recommend or resources that you might point people towards?
If, again, I think have the conversation about, it may be no problem. But if it is, have a conversation and see what they're willing to do. If human voice is 60 decibels is what we love, 50 is starting to get too quiet, 70 is more like a vacuum and can be obnoxious to some people. ADHD tend to talk at 70, right? If it is a problem and they want to work on it, and other people, you have like someone else in there who's really bothering, they're not going to be able to be flexible. There's like watches and things you wear that chill decibels that can help them. Again, fidget devices. But honestly, what was your question?
Other tips, tricks, and techniques.
Thank you. Be curious. If I can ask you a question. You being a DM, you've seen a lot of different types of people. Where do you think the line ends for a DM with ADHD, where it's like, here's me giving you resources versus here's me providing you resources? Where do you see that being?
I think it depends on the relationship you have with your players.
Good call.
Right? Like, if you're just DMing for a group of strangers at a game store or at a convention, maybe you just standardly have a couple of fidgets on your table for your players, but like, you're probably not going to do too much. But if it's your friends and like you really genuinely want to help your friends and step into that, there's things you can do. And I think it's also a matter of curiosity. Sometimes people start learning about something and they want to know more or know how they can be more helpful.
So the DM maybe have extra dice in case they forget theirs. Yes. Maybe have notes that they can give electronically because they didn't take any. Yes. As I've done before. I love that. The other thing I would say is, as far as resources go, Smart But Scattered is a good book. Again, ADHD do tend to be very high in these other things, emotional intelligence and cognitive intelligence. And they have really good perceptual reasoning and verbal comprehension, but again, processing speed, working memory, and attention is tough, so you don't necessarily see that all the time. Right. Smart But Scattered kind of talks about that and talks about these executive functioning, planning, time management, organization. That can help with that. For adults, there's a great book I love on the executive skills front called Getting Things Done. Yes. David Allen, or
I think that's right.
I can't remember. And
we'll put a link in the doobly-doo.
Right. And I love that one too. And then honestly, I love providing resources that make them feel empowered and happy about it. Yeah. Talking about famous people who've had it. Richard Branson, Walt Disney, the swimmer, who's really good. Michael Phelps, Justin Timberlake. I mean, these people who are very creative and can hyper-focus, and you can't stop Phelps from swimming. He just wants to get better, better, better. Can't break that focus. It's a superpower. If I were to write another comic book based off mental health, it'd be ADHD. The only reason I don't is anime does that all the time. Like Naruto, One Piece, almost all these characters have ADHD, and you see how awesome it is.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. And where can people find you online now?
So I use Twitter, which is Dr. Kelly. I know. It's the bane of my existence. Space Jam, and then, of course, all the other stuff. And then it's not so good. But Dr. Kelly on Twitter, and I do try to be active. I don't post a lot, but if you want to talk to me, I will for sure talk back to you.
Talk back. Yeah. And then you're also here on Geeks Like Us as being one of the co-founders.
Co-founder of Geeks Like Us. So you'll see me and Megan at a lot of cons, comic and gaming cons. And again, the whole part of GLU is to be inclusive and to create this community. Reach out. Yeah. Don't hesitate. Don't be like, I don't know if they want to talk to me. Of course we do.
Yeah. Of course.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here and telling us a little bit more about ADHD.
For sure.
If you have other questions, please leave them below. And as always, let's make space at the table for everyone.